Hey loves, welcome back to Classy and Sassy. It feels like so much is happening right now between reality TV finales, the new seasons that are starting, of course the viral social media trends, and just real life. So today's episode is going to be a mix of fun and growth. We are going to talk about Big Brother 2025, wrapping up with a surprise ending, my thoughts going into the new reality TV season, and of course this whole great lock-in trend that honestly couldn't come at a better time with October starting. I'm also diving into the conversation about why being an entrepreneur these days feels like you have to also be an influencer. Why I decided to start learning another language, and the truth about discipline and productivity when you're building something. And of course, it wouldn't be me if we don't finish up with what I'm reading right now. Let's get into it. First, Big Brother is officially over for this season. And listen, the winner was not who I thought it was going to be at all. The finale had this totally different energy compared to the early part of the season. Early on, we had the drama, the alliances, these little strategy plans, and of course the showmances or cheatmances, whatever you want to call it. But by the end, it just felt like the house vibe had shifted. At times, it felt less like a game and more like a soap opera. Honestly, I started losing interest in several points because the strategy got overshadowed by some of the nonsense. Not to mention taking out some really big competitors with these weird games that were not part of the regular formula just seemed unfair. But Big Brother always manages to pull me back in for the finale. And this one, while surprising, still reminded me why I've stuck with this show for so many seasons. We went into that last episode with 3 different players, Vinny, Morgan, and Ashley. Despite what seemed a very inappropriate relationship all season between Vinny and Morgan, we can't deny that they were comp beasts. Yet, Ashley managed to secure the final head of household and cut her girl in the end. I admit there were times I had my doubts when she said she was playing down her intelligence to make herself less of a threat. I mean, I love her, but watching her do her final speech, she let us really see the lawyer in her come out. She ended up winning 6-1. And technically, you could really say it was a full sweep since Morgan has admitted in interviews that she only gave him a vote as something of a sympathy vote, since she could already see where the votes were going based on the questioning of everyone in the jury. In the end, it was a surprising end that felt pretty good, especially since Keanu actually also ended up winning America's favorite, which is what I wanted. Now, switching gears, Love is Blind is back starting tomorrow for the new season. I don't know if I'm excited or skeptical. I mean, part of me is like, yes, give me the drama, the awkward proposals, the lies. But another part of me is like, are we just repeating the same formula from last season? Every season has its fair share of surprises. But I'll be honest, some couples I can spot right away like, yeah, this is not going to last past the reunion. Or people I swear are just in it just for the fame. I'm curious if this season will feel fresh or predictable. Either way, I'll be tuned in and ready to have some thoughts. because Love is Blind has a way of sparking those would you, could you thoughts. As much as I love this show, I do sometimes do quick Google searches to see how many of these couples actually stay together. Because everybody's not going to be Lauren and Cam. Sometimes, some of them really surprise you. And then there are those that seem wonderful and turn out to be anything but. We shall see. Now, I know when I mentioned the great lock-in at the beginning, you probably thought, okay, she's old and she forgot she talked about this last week. I did not. Not that bad off. I know we talked about that trend last week, and it's like a productivity challenge where you dedicate a set period of time, a weekend, a week, a month, or most people, 3 months, to lock in and focus on your goals. A lot of people started mid-September, but if you missed it, it's not too late. There are a lot of us using October as a chance to reset, get consistent, and finish your year strong. And I kind of love the timing. September always feels like a warm-up after summer, but October, that's when you can really decide to push forward. Now, I'm not about burnout, so I like the idea of doing a mini lock-in if you need to. Maybe you decide to dedicate your mornings to writing or your evenings to tackling that side hustle. The point isn't perfection, it's momentum. So take a look at some of the things you want to accomplish and lock in from October 1st to the end of the year. Or as I've been doing lately, promise to stop lying to yourself. Yeah, I said it. I have started to determine that saying I'm going to achieve things and then making a million excuses not to is nothing more than me not keeping promises to myself, thus lying to myself. The only person that truly knows that you are not being truthful to your inner thoughts is you. So what are you going to do about it? When it comes to entrepreneurs and social media, let's just talk about it. The expectation is you basically, because you decided to be an entrepreneur, you need to double as an influencer. It's wild how much visibility is tied to credibility these days. The upside, opportunities, brand partnerships, expanding your reach. You would be surprised how many people will choose you over someone else just because they like the persona of you they see online. They may relate to you, feel like you could be friends, or heck, simply respect your hustle. But the downside? The constant pressure to always be on. Sometimes I just want to work on my business without also creating content about working my business. But I get it. People want to see the behind the scenes. They want to see you. They want to relate to you. For me, I sometimes have to strike a balance. Remind myself that the content supports the business, but the business doesn't exist to support the content. When you focus on showing your authentic self, even if it's not perfect, that's when it will feel more sustainable. Now, on to a personal thing. I have decided to start learning Spanish. It's something I've always wanted to do for as long as I can remember. But I'm also thinking about how it could impact my career long term, whether it's the real estate side or the travel side. Imagine being able to communicate confidently with more clients or just have that skill when you travel. It's freaking empowering. And let's be real, learning a new language keeps your brain sharp. It's also humbling because you're going back to square one as a learner. But I think that's good for growth. It is only day 4, and I found myself struggling with some of my vocabulary today and had to remind myself, this will take time. Before I even started, I did a ton of research. Yes, I'm that person. Research tells me it can take anywhere from 6 months to a year of consistent training to be fluent. At this point, it's all about being focused in the plan, sticking to the training every single day, because the payoff will be worth it. Sometimes you have to stop stressing in the struggle and just start enjoying the process of getting to the result. Don't you think? Well, here's the truth about being an entrepreneur. It is not glamorous, despite what you see. It's discipline, schedules, productivity, day in and day out. Nobody sees the hours that you're going to spend color coding your calendar or batching your content or pushing through when you'd rather be binging Netflix. It is definitely not for everyone. If you know you struggle with being a self-starter, you may want to really look into everything it takes before jumping in. But I would never tell someone not to follow a dream. Just find the steps that work best for you to achieve that dream. What works best for me, I found, is time blocking, batching some of my content, and honestly, learning to honor my own rhythms. I know I'm sharper in the mornings usually, so sometimes I prefer taking on my bigger tasks then. But I also know my brain always has a million tabs open. So despite making a list of things to do, I may have to juggle the schedule around if there are some tasks I know are going to bug the crap out of me if I don't get them done. You know, like you've noticed the laundry is getting too high or the floor needs to be mopped or something. When you're one of those people who it just sticks in your brain this needs to be done, sometimes it stops your creative flow. I sometimes save the more creative, flexible task for later in the day if I need to. The discipline isn't about doing everything. It's about doing the right things at the right time. But you have to be consistent. Because going back to the not lying to yourself thing, if you say you're going to do X, Y, and Z for your goals, do them. You would be amazed how many things you can do by simply turning off the TV for a while or putting down TikTok. And this is coming from a girl who loves her reality TV. Now, let's talk books. I am still reading Plain Jayne by Jayne Kennedy, and it's been eye-opening. There is a chapter that talks about her spending weeks desperate and on edge after a boy kissed her when she was 14. Some girls told her that French kissing was how girls got pregnant, and that one of their other fellow classmates was pregnant for that reason, and she spiraled. How people got pregnant was not something anyone talked about in her household, so she believed it. Her grades were slipping, she was so depressed, and even considered dire solutions of self-harm because she just couldn't figure out how to tell her parents that she had let this happen. Now, luckily, she eventually realized she wasn't pregnant, and she found out how that really happens. But can you imagine that kind of stress as a 14-year-old girl? I am sure there's a lot more I'm going to learn about her as this book goes on, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm also looking forward to getting a copy of Kamala's new book, which I've already thrown in my Amazon cart. I'm sure I will do it today. I am one of the people who wants to see what she has to say about the whole process of running, but also did a deeper look into who she is and what made so many of us start to love her. Now, I don't know how many of you know this, I'll say it that way. I read a lot of ARCs, advanced reader copies of books before they're published. And I want to start creating more content around some of the ones I love before they're officially released. Normally, as I read them, I write reviews as I complete, and I move on. But I think creating content will be a fun way to also support the authors and share the recommendations early. Not to mention, it would help my fellow readers create even longer TBR lists. You know, those things that never seem to get any shorter. Now, of course, I'll put that content on both Insta and TikTok if you want to keep up. Those logins are also right on the website. And that's a wrap for today's Classy and Sassy. We covered a lot, from reality TV finales and new seasons to productivity trends, business realities, personal growth, and of course, books. I'd love to hear from you. DM me what you're watching, reading, or working on this week. And don't forget to rate and review the podcast if you haven't already. It helps the show grow. And as always, stay classy, stay sassy, and I'll see you next week.